Last time we looked at materialism and found it can't be ultimately real because of its impermanence. But if nothing around me is permanent, what could possibly be ultimately real? Today we'll look at idealism. The thought of the impermanence of all kinds of material things, from the earth to the sun to even atoms, can make us feel very uneasy. As a matter of fact, we can end up feeling very much like the prophet who cried, "Vanity, vanity, all things are vanity." Into the ancient world, came a philosopher by the name of Plato. Plato was able to look at things a little bit differently, and he saw that there is something beyond just the material world. For example, last week I spoke about an apple being placed on a desk and it dissolving into apple pulp. He said, that's true, apples will dissolve and fall away and you'll never see them again, but there's something that remains of an apple, and that is the idea of an apple. If I say the word apple, you immediately have in mind that wonderful red-shaped fruit that you can all eat. He said it's similar to numbers, which Pythagoras actually saw for the first time, that 1 plus 1 will always equal 2 from now to the end of the ages, even if we don't have 1 of anything to add to 1 of anything else. 1 plus 1 will always equal 2. Plato said that the ultimate reality exists within this realm of ideas because they neither decay nor change, but they are somehow permanent. And everything that we see, you and I, are really only shadows or images of those ultimately real things. We may be surprised that there are people who actually believe in that even today. There was a professor in England who was an absolute idealist, and his students used to say, "There goes Dr. So-and-so taking his body for a walk." We think that is kind of odd, but the truth is there is something about idealism that's also troubling, even if it's absolutely permanent, and that's right. And the problem with that is, if I'm hungry, the idea of an apple won't feed me, but if I have that apple, actually my tummy feels a little bit better. So idealism is never completely acceptable to us because we have a body, because we have flesh and blood. Trouble is, a lot of people have taken Christianity and tried to turn it into some sort of idealistic society. They use a slightly different language, however. They would talk about, we are supposed to become pure spirits. And St. Paul talks about the spiritual man versus the carnal man. And they have misused that understanding of spiritual and carnal. St. Paul was not talking about carnal as just being flesh and blood. It's something much more profound, which we will talk about eventually in this series. To be a spiritual person is not to negate my flesh. It's impossible to do so. But one thing that's good about the spiritual notion is that you can develop an absolute. One of the really good things about idealism is you can develop an absolute morality. You can have things and say that that's absolutely right and that's absolutely wrong, because these eternal realm of things never change. And we are reflecting something about this eternal realm. That's a wonderful thing. There's a wide strain of some Christians who take a view of this type of reality. And really, it's Neoplatonism that they take. And they develop very acute systems that they can work with. It affects the way they understand the Christian life in this world, and also what ultimately things are supposed to be at the end of all ages. The actual group historically that felt this and believed these sorts of things were Christian heretics. And they were dualists. They believe that there's an absolute good and an absolute evil. And they are equal and they're fighting one another. And that's not the Christian gospel. Because after all, the devil is a creature. He was created by God, and he's certainly not God's equal. So evil itself is not even equal to good. Never has been, never will be throughout all eternity. And so this battle, this conflict is rather one-sided that we have in this life. God is always good. And it's easy to forget that. But idealism can never really be thoroughgoing for a Christian because we have a body. As a matter of fact, the Christian life can't be lived without a body. Think about it just for a moment. If you are going to read the scripture, what do you have to have? You have to have eyes to be able to read the text and hands to be able to turn the pages. You have to have your physical senses. And if I'm going to be baptized, I have to have a body to be baptized with. I'm not just baptized spiritually, I'm baptized with my body. And I'm baptized in something, in water. When I receive Holy Communion, I have to receive that with my mouth and digest it. My body is required for me to be able to even, quote, say the sinner's prayer, for heaven's sake. We cannot have a Christian faith without our body. Christians, human beings actually, were never made to be angels. We'll never be angels. We will always be human beings. Changed, of course, but we will always be human beings. So if idealism cannot satisfy me, because if I'm sick, I need to have medicine, or if I'm hungry, I need to eat, or if I'm a Christian, I have to have baptism and use my body, then what can be an answer to this dilemma of what is real? Next week, we'll look at one other answer, realism. If you like this video, be sure to like and share it. And on Facebook, you can follow me on my page, Father John Guy Winfrey. And when you follow me, go up and make sure you select See First so you don't miss a single one of these videos. If you would like to see more videos or hear more on podcasts, be sure to go out and check Ancient Faith Radio. May Christ, our true God, bless all of us as we all struggle towards becoming authentic.